Hello everyone. Today's poem is Nanling别儿童入京 by Li Bai. This poem was written in the age of 42. A middle-aged man, Li Bai was at that time. And per the standard of the Tang dynasty, for an educated person, Li Bai achieved nothing, and he got nothing at the time being when he was written this poem, because he want to be a elite person and he want to contribute to the country. So he start to practice swordcraft. Also, he reading the literacy and writing poems. So that's the two things he tried to practice since his childhood. The purpose is to be a great man, an elite person, can serve the central government with his capacity. But till the age of 42, he had got nothing. One way is to go to the imperial exam to take the test. If he passed the exam, he will get a junior position in the central government, and then he can keep on his career, and maybe he would get to a very high position that expected. Anyhow, Li Bai was such a proud guy, and most people think he could be a branch of the royal family of the Tang dynasty, but nobody has ever confirmed that. But from his behavior, his history is with very high possibility that he was one of the family branch of the royal family of the Tang dynasty. So that could be one of the root reason of his pride. Anyhow, he never go to the imperial exam. So the only way is to make the fame to be spread out to the ear of the emperor of the time. Though emperor may summon him into the central government and gave him a position. So what he do? He toured around in one way to be more knowledgeable, because travel is one of the very important way to be knowledgeable. The other way is to make friends of the elite people, so that will help his fame to be spread out. And then went to the capital city and sent his poem, his article to the high position officers of the royal families. He has been to the capital city, Chang'an, twice before 24 when he write this poem. The first time, of course, is a sort of the failure, because he was too young and he don't make too much of the acquaintance. But the second time, several years before he was writing this poem, he made a lot of acquaintance and get a big fame in the capital city, no matter in the high-ranking officials or the princess. He was a very, very good friend with a princess, and a very important princess, and he thought he may get what he want through his fame, but it finally 3 years later stayed in the capital city. He got nothing, and he cannot support the very expensive life in the capital city anymore, and he left with sorrow and with disappointment. And then when he stayed in the Shandong province today, the place Shandong province today, as a hermit, and he got a message from the emperors and summoned him to go to the capital city, and he write this poem. Okay, let's have a look of the poem first. 南陵别儿童入京，白酒新熟山中归，黄鸡啄黍秋正肥。呼童烹鸡酌白酒，儿女嬉笑千人衣。高歌取醉欲自慰，起舞落日争光辉。游说万乘苦不早，着鞭跨马涉远道。会稽渔父轻买臣，予以辞家西入秦。仰天大笑出门去，我辈岂是蓬蒿人。The very, very famous words, and for a very pride and very high time. 仰天大笑出门去，我辈岂是蓬蒿人。Okay, the title, 南陵别儿童入京. Nanling, the place. He lived somewhere in Shandong, maybe near Qufu, maybe some other place, not very quite accurate. But that's a place he led a hermit life in the age of 40, in his 40s, and he may think he will survive here, or he lead his rest life here at this place, Nanling. 别儿童入京. 别 is say farewell, is depart. 儿童 is a little different from today's meaning. 儿童 is children today. And in that time, 儿 is his kids, normally the son or daughters. 童 is not children. Today's 童 is still refers to the children, but here it refers to the junior servant in his house. So he led a still pretty good life in the countryside in Nanling, and he has his own servant. 入京 and go into the capital city. Jing is a capital city. So the title means I'm saying farewell to my kids and to my servants. And I will go into the capital city now. 白酒新熟山中归，黄鸡啄黍秋正肥。That's the countryside. That's the sort of the mountain and river poems. The starting two sentences is just like the 山水田园诗, the mountain, river, and the countryside poems. 白酒, the wine, the white wine just brewed, the new white wine is just brewed, and I'm coming from the mountains. So he led a pretty good life. He maybe need take the time to do the planting work, the farming, the works in the farm field. And he also had the leisure to go to the mountains, have a trekking in the mountains. It's a pretty good life in the countryside. 黄鸡啄黍秋正肥. The yellow chicken is eating the 黍. 黍 is the corns, which is the main cause of food for the Tang people. So this words appeared in lots of the 山水田园诗, mountain, river, and farm fields poems. So you see these words, you know it's sort of the 山水田园诗, mountain, river, and farming fields type poems. And because why the yellow chicken is eating the corns? It's the autumn time, and the chicken is fat, so it has something neglected, because there's some of the things missed in this picture. The first sentence, the white one is new brewed. I'm coming back from the mountain. That's okay. And 黄鸡啄黍, the chicken is eating the corns. The chicken is in the farming field. The harvest has been done, but there's still sort of a lot of left out in the fields. So the chicken is eating the corns in the field, and it's such a good harvest. Even the left out make the chickens fat. So it's a very, very good life, pleasant, abundant. That sounds like a mountain river farming fields type poems. 呼童烹鸡酌白酒，儿女喜笑千人衣. So the Li Bai is coming back from the mountains. So he asking the junior servant to cook the fat chicken. Fill the glass with wines. 浊酒 is filled wines. 儿女嬉笑千人衣. So here is the kids. It's not the junior servant. His sons. 儿 is sons. 女 is daughters. So it's not like today. The 儿女 always comes together and means the kids. And here is refers to separately. My sons, my daughters is laughing, is with smiles, and they come up and drag my clothes. So that's a very typical happy family life in the countryside. 高歌取醉欲自慰，而起舞落日争光辉. 高歌 singing out and loud, such a happiness, where with drinking wines and singing out loud. 取醉, though the drinking and singing out loud, the only purpose is to get drunk. Though the typical situation is when you want to get drunk by yourself. One thing is you are with such a sorrow, such a sadness. You want to get drunk and forget everything. And in this situation, the poem depicts is another situation. You are so happy and you want to be drunk. And so 欲自慰, it makes very clear. 自慰 is masturbation in today's modern Mandarin, but in the Tang dynasty, 自慰 is to satisfy himself. He was in such a happiness. He wanted to make himself drunken and make himself satisfied. 起舞落日争光辉. So it's the singing out loud, drinking, want to make him drunk himself, and he danced as well. So that's very typical. The singing and dancing, and even dancing with the sword. 落日争光辉. So when he danced, so it's such a terrific dance that the man, the dancer, the Li Bai actually, the dancer is the Li Bai, shines like a star with the glories, with the light. And at this time it's sunset, so it's right some of the very moment of the one day he heard the message. So it's a sunset already, and the splendid light of the sunset want to compete with the glory, the light of the dancer, Li Bai himself. So, which actually here it implies Li Bai with his dance actually shadows make the sunset eclipse. So, shining like a superstar. So, at the very moment, at the time, Li Bai is the superstar. With such a happiness, the utmost happiness that never be described or has been experienced by Li Bai, the poet turned to be a little bitterness in the second half. 游说万乘苦不早，着鞭跨马涉远道。苦不早 afraid of being late, feel a little bitterness in mind of being too late. For what? So he with such a happiness, such delighted in the first half, and then why he became a little bit afraid of, worried or bitterness. What he's afraid of? Too late. Too late for what? 游说万乘. 游说 is lobbying, to make suggestions, to make plans for the emperor. And 万乘 is an alternative for the emperor. Because only the emperor can have troops with 10,000 chariots. And the nobles could have thousands of chariots. So 万乘 became an alternative name for the emperor. So he was afraid he's too late to go to the emperors, to make suggestions, to lobby the emperors, to make plans for emperors. With such, that's his dream for the lifelong time, to get a position in the central government, to serve the emperor directly, and to make some change, to contribute to the country. So that's his lifelong dream, even till he was 42 in the middle age, but never achieved. So the situation is sort of when he heard the news, he was in such astonishment and then such a happiness. The whole family was fell into a big party, drinking, eating, dancing, whatever. And then he got worried. He was afraid of to be late to go to the emperors. 着鞭跨马涉远道. So when he realized, when he got a little bit worried about that, he take his whip and he ride his horse and he go to the long journeys. 涉远道, go to the long journeys. When he thought about the emperors, so he has more thoughts. 会稽渔父轻买臣，予以辞家，西入秦. So this is a quotation to a story to the Han dynasty, roughly 900 years before Li Bai. So the Tang people always think they are sort of the alike dynasty with the Han dynasty. So they always quoted the stories or the peoples, the figures in the Han dynasty in their poem to describe himself, actually. So 会稽 is the city's place in Zhejiang province. So that's Shaoxing today. And in the Han dynasty, there's a people lived in 会稽. His name is Mai Chen. So the last words, Mai Chen. So the whole sentence is a foolish woman, 渔妇. A foolish woman in 会稽. He looks down on a man called Mai Chen. The Mai Chen is Zhu Mai Chen. The full name is Zhu Mai Chen. So the story is like this. The foolish woman is his wife, actually. The Zhu Mai Chen's wife, actually. Zhu Mai Chen was a very poor guy, so he went into the mountain, cut woods, and sell it as charcoal in the market. When he's selling in the market, he read books very out loud. So the people around Zhu Mai Chen are laughing at Zhu Mai Chen because you're 40 already. What the hell are you thinking? You're reading the book in the market. When the people laughing at Zhu Mai Chen, and Zhu Mai Chen even read the book much louder. So that's the response to the laughters. And this make the wife of Zhu Mai Chen in such a embarrassment. So with many quarrels and discussions, Zhu Mai Chen sticked his way. He reading the book out loud in the market when he was selling the woods. And I had to explain a little bit the background. In the Tang dynasty, the social ladder, there is some social ladder because you can take the imperial exams to go into the government, to get a position in the government. But in the Han dynasty, there's not such a social ladder, not imperial exams. So the government's positions is inherited by families. So if your father, your grandfather was not an official, you will never become an official. You will never have the chance to be an official. That's the feudalism. So Zhu Mai Chen was born in a very poor family. So what's the use to read the books? And even when he was 40s, almost the life has passed, he still read the books out loud. And finally, his wife want to make divorce with him. And Zhu Mai Chen replied, "You had led 20 years of poor life with me. Just wait a few days ahead. I will be fame. I will be rich. I will be someone in the government. I will be with very big officers, high-ranking officers." But how can his wife believe with him? So his wife finally divorced with him. Well, that's the story. And Zhu Mai Chen get a very high position finally. And when he back to his hometown, Kuaiji, the city, with glories, his ex-wife was in such a shame, and she suicide. So that's the story. So it's quite similar, like Li Bai's story so far. They had nothing. They achieved nothing until their 40s. And then Li Bai has the chance. Li Bai was summoned by the emperors. The great future was ahead of Li Bai. So, 予以辞家西入秦. So, 予 is the ancient name for myself. So, I am going to say farewell to my family and going westward, 西入. 入秦 is going to the place of Qin. So the area surrounded capital Chang'an is always called as Qin because even till today, most of the places in China will still call the name in the warrior state's name. So in the warrior states, the place surrounded Chang'an or Xi'an was so-called Qin or the state of Qin. So that means 入秦 is actually refers he was summoned by the emperor. He was going into the capital city, Chang'an. 仰天大笑出门去，我辈岂是蓬蒿人 The most famous sentences. You can use it if you are with such a pride and with such a turnover. 仰天 so I'm laughing to the skies. I'm looking up. 仰天 looking up to the skies. Great laugh. And I'm going outside of my door, his family's doors. 我辈岂是蓬蒿人 So the people like me will never be, or how can I could be always as a normal person? How could I? 岂是 how could I? 蓬蒿人 蓬蒿 is grass. Peng is sort of the grass. When in the autumn time, it will be split out from the root as a ball, and when the wind blows, it will roll over all the ways. And hao is a sort of the grass. So the peng hao is always used to refers to the root grass people, the poor people. And they lead a poor life, and also they may live, they cannot hold their family, so they may linger around through places because there are poverty. So the last sentence is still used quite often, even till today, with such a pride and with such a big turnover. I was looked down by all the people till my 40s, and now I've got such a most highest pride from the summon from the emperor, and I'm not the people, the normal people as you looked before. So that was such a huge happiness, excitement, and a turnover. So finally, this poem appears to be described such a huge turnover in Li Bai's life. He almost make up his mind, or maybe he has already made up his mind to lead a hermit life in the countryside in his rest life in the age of 40s. He had tried so many times. He has tried so hard to be a contributor for the countries, to get a position in the central government, but all those efforts failed. And when the big news from the emperor summon him to the capital comes, actually he has no idea of it. It was such a astonishment, and then such a great happiness, such a great delight. And then he began to sort back what he used to sort, to be the best servant, the best officers for the emperor, to make plans, to give suggestions to the emperors. And then he was in such a hurry to go to the capital city to see the emperor. And at last, when he just to step out of his family stores. He was such released because he was looked down by peoples. You're nothing. You think you are someone. You are nothing for 40 years. And now he proved himself. He was someone. And he was definitely was someone in the long history of the Chinese history. So he was with laugh, the most happiness laugh, and look to the sky, step out of his family, and he will never be a grassrooted people or normal people again, as you people sort of. Besides the poems, just one minor things I want to say something about baijiu. I'm always curious about the food, wines in the classic poems. So here it shows up the baijiu. So in the Tang poems, we can see three types of the wines: baijiu, the white wine; qingjiu, the clear wine; and 浊酒 or 绿酒, the green wine. So the green one is seen most often because it was the wine brewed in the normal family. So it's very low grade, alcohol grade, and it's very normal. It's very wines. And the green color is because the wine is not filtered out, so it's still with a lot of the materials, brewing material, rice, coins, whatever, in the wines, and that things, materials make the wine looks green. So it's very draft, it's very unsophisticated wines. And then here is baijiu, the white wines. So here it looks much better and feels much better and makes me think of one type of wines only in Xi'an city, 稠酒. So it's just like the milk, and there's no materials, so purely liquid, like milk. Taste a little bit sweet, and the alcohol degree is a little bit more than the beers, because I think the green wines, the degree is roughly like the beers degrees, 5-8 degrees sort of. The white wines is much more sophisticated wines, and so here it shows the Li Bai lead well-off life, even in a countryside, because he is drinking the white wine and not the green wines. And the last, qingjiu, is sometimes it shows up in the Tang poems, and today sake in Japan is still so-called qingjiu. Qingjiu is the best breed of the wines, is crystal clear, and it with a much higher degree of the alcohol degrees, and it's very, very expensive. Normally it's so described, 清酒斗10千. So one big bowl, the dough is a vessel to hold the wines. One big bowl of 清酒, the crystal clear wines, is worth of 10,000 money. So that's a big money. The millionaires can only afford it. And normally the poem, the appears with Qingzhou, it always describes the luxurious dinner, the luxurious life of nobles or the high-ranking officials. So you know the wines is quite different. So now here, Li Bai used the baijiu to show he led a pretty good life, but not good as the high-ranking officials or the noble peoples. Okay, that's for today. Try to remember the sentence. 仰天大笑出门去，我辈岂是蓬蒿人。Okay, that's for today. Bye-bye.